Namaste, ladies and gentlemen. For building the topic of spirituality, I need to tell you a bit of a story. And I'm sure that most of you would be interested to listen to some stories right from childhood. I think which were interacted with our parents. So primarily the spirituality is a science which is a subject of interest only for the human being. Because we see in the creation, there are many creations are there. We don't even know how many varieties of creations have been made by the nature, and it goes on. So in the overall evolution of creations, you will find that the later version of the creation is more sophisticated as compared to the earlier versions. That is why you see from mineral to plants and plants to animals and animals to human being, you find a significant amount of complicated faculties and variety of functionalities has been incorporated. So in my own life, I have been observing my grandparents and my parents and now the younger generations. I find the complexity of our own lives in terms of comforts and in terms of technology, in terms of the kind of the gadgets that we are using is exponentially becoming more and more complicated with an aim to make our life comfortable and happier. But we notice that the current generation as compared to many of our forefathers, in spite of our comforts have improved significantly, we are not that happy as compared to our previous generations. Because happiness has got nothing to do, have anything to linkage with the kind of comforts we are enjoying or the kind of gadgets that we are using at this point in time. So that means there is a disconnect between the progress we are making in the scientific inventions and the quality of our life. At the end of the day, the scientific inventions are intended to improve the quality of our life. So let us park this question somewhere on the one side and then we try to get into the science of happiness, which I have spoken about in many of my videos in the past. So I would urge you to go through my theory of happiness in the serial where I spoke about the various aspects of where the happiness is coming from. So what I would like to build this topic of spirituality is essentially the 40,000 years the Homo sapiens are believed to be in the current complex form with the cortex and neocortex and various kind of a complex brain structure. So the moment people have started thinking as a thinking being, because in the whole creation you will find the consciousness of an ant as compared to the consciousness of a human being is significantly different. When I say consciousness, let me not complicate it with the Vedic definition of consciousness, which we will see it later. What I mean is our ability to understand what is happening around us has been significantly different from the insects to human beings. So that is what I mean as a consciousness, that our ability to understand the complex things and become aware of what is happening. So in the whole of this planet, they believe that out of 70 planets they have identified so far, which is similar to Earth, but they are not able to find life forms anywhere else in this entire cosmos. And it is believed that the life forms are there only in this planet, which is a very insignificant part of this whole cosmos. Meaning that we are an orphan in this whole cosmos, which is boundless, and they are not able to find out where this whole universe is ending and etc. So we'll get into those complexities later. But the Homo sapiens started their life asking questions about how do I hunt the animal and how do I make use of the resources around me. So because of the thinking capability, the human beings came into this planet have started asking many questions. There are two type of questions are asked. One segment of the people in the Western world ask the question, what is this mountain is about, what is that mineral is all about, what is this functionality of certain things external to them. And they have asked majority of the people in the eastern part of this planet. I have asked the question, when I came here, I didn't bring anything from anywhere. But I find there are so many creations are there around me. There is a mountain here, and there is a plant, there is an animal, and there are a lot of people and so on. So I have not created them. So where they came from, and where are they really going? Why there is a start, beginning, and end of every life, and why somebody has born, dies. So there are innumerable kind of questions came in the minds of the people who wanted to think about the inward-looking inquiry, probably you may call it, like the external-looking inquiry of the material objects. This is an inward-looking inquiry. Who am I? Where I came from? And where I am going? What I am doing in this planet? Is there any meaning of life? And why we are constantly in pursuit of more? And why our happiness is something is very fleeting. So there are quite a number of questions were asked in the eastern part of the world, and we call them as Vedic seers. What is the meaning of the word seers, seekers, etc. I'll speak about it later. But essentially they started looking into who am I, where I came from, and why there are so much kind of misery in life, and why we cannot be happy and so on. So 2500 years ago, Lord Buddha, who can see behind me, I am a very affectionate and then follower of Lord Buddha, because I got fascinated by his teachings, and I was also keenly interested to see his own life and how he lived and why he lived that way and so on. So there were people who relinquished everything and started going in search of some questions, which we will discuss that in the subsequent sessions. To make the story short, at the end of the day, human beings became a thinking being, hence they started asking many questions. Some questions were connected with the external world. We call them as the extroverted people. Extroverted people are not very outspoken. What it really means is their attention is in the rest of the world, not about themselves. And there are lots of people who are Vedic seers in this part of the world. They started asking questions about who am I, where I came from, what is all this, what is the connection between one living being, another living being, and so on and so forth. So both of them have not finished their inquiry. Material inquiry is still continuing, discovering the secrets of nature and the power of nature, and trying to use it as a scientific advance for improving the comforts of life. Like for example, the gadget which is in front of me is recording my thoughts and then sharing it with the people through a media called YouTube and so on and so forth. So the other part of the world is not about the external things. It's very important to find what is really happening inside me. Why I'm getting this thought, where this feeling is coming from, and what is the direction for becoming peaceful. Is it coming from the objects, or is coming from an internal vibration? Quite a number of questions were asked, and then that became the science of Vedic literatures and then various things that they have recorded. So going forward, I am going to take each one of those aspects and not trying to invalidate science, but it's very important to validate the spiritual science at the end of the day, which is going to give us a peace of mind and happiness. So that is what is going to be our subject of discussion going forward. I'm sure that you will start enjoying these topics as you enjoyed learning physics or chemistry or biology, etc. So look forward to see you more and more on the topic of spiritual science. Thank you very much for your patient listening, and look forward to talk to you on more topics. Take care.